and welcome. I'm back with another episode of Cabin Chronicles, where we chat in the cabin of Bajaj leaders to take a sneak peek into their lives. I'm your host, Zebulina Banerjee, and today we have Vikram Bhayana. He's the head of marketing. And as we all know, communications and marketing goes hand in hand to create a great jugalbandi. Welcome to our show.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So let us start from the very beginning. Tell us a bit about your childhood and your school life.
It's going to be a very long answer, but I'll try and keep it short.
Absolutely.
My father was in the army, so I was born in Dehradun. I've had the good fortune of staying in multiple cities, Dehradun, Pathankot, then Dehradun again. Then from there we went to Bhatinda. From Bhatinda we went to Mathura, then Devlali, then Hyderabad, Secunderabad, Ganganagar, Nasik again, Calcutta, and then back to Pune.
Wow.
So I've had the good fortune of seeing multiple cities, seeing the diversity of our country at a very young age. Of course, initially one didn't like it because you were just beginning to make friends, and that completely disrupts. But I think with time I realized how important that was. Changing so many schools, I think 7-8 schools in various cities. So started with convents and then went on to army schools. That transition. So I feel I'm absolutely blessed. Initially, I didn't feel like that because it was painful. But now, in hindsight, I have friends in every city and really great ones in that. So no complaints at all about my upbringing or childhood. Saw some really royal lifestyle because army gives you the luxuries that even money can't buy at times. So from having tennis courts, basketball courts right outside our house, to learning horse riding at a young age, swimming, so name it and you could do it because it was all available. Some perks that the army life offers. It also has its downsides because when your father would go for an exercise for a month or 2 months, or if there would be a war, there would be tension in the family. There were no phones, no cell phones. So it has its ups and downs. But like I said, in hindsight, the pluses are way too many. So
yeah. I mean, I
I've had a
completely
good one.
agree. Yeah, many of my friends who have changed schools at a younger life, they faced trouble to make friendships at a young age.
Yeah.
But like you said, now you have friends in every city, so that's a very big perk. Do you think that shifting cities have encouraged you to travel more, or your love for travel?
Because it was the inner nature of my father's job, so we started enjoying it. One, we saw newer cities. Every 2.5 years, a new city, a new school, a new set of people. But the good bit was because we stayed in cantonments, everyone moved cities. So we knew that we have 2 years with each other to make the best of friendships. So that calculation is always there, that we have less time with each other, so spend as much as you can. Uh, After school, we would make sure we finish homework and go out and play. So the sports was a very integral part of our upbringing because that was the only space you could really sit and bond and make great friendships. Changing schools, like I said, really gave us a lot of luxury of increasing our adaptability to meeting new teachers, understanding new environments. The language would change. Like when we went to Bhatinda, I could either do Sanskrit or Punjabi. And the funny thing was, my Sanskrit paper was checked by a Punjabi teacher. So you were at the mercy at times of a lot of funny incidences. But I think that also helped us learn on how to adapt. I think the adaptability quotient was bang on. But making friends was not difficult. Secondly, because all cantonments are same. The homes would look the same. We had same beds, same furniture. So even if you went to a friend's place, it would look like your own house.
Yeah.
So I think that feeling of one big family in the armed forces is big,
Yeah.
and that never made us feel out of place in any manner.
Yeah, that's so true. Absolutely. So let us move on from your school life to your college life. So you are an IT engineer, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah. So can you tell us more about why you chose IT and what your first job was?
Okay, so I come from a very typical middle class family where when I was finishing 12th, engineering and IT was solid boom. And my sister, my elder sister, had finished her computer engineering from Bombay University and she was working for Infosys. And back then, Infosys was like this dream company that one should be working for. It still is a big company and it's a massive name, but back then, its aura was 1,000 times multiplied. So, because she did that, and I was relatively good in studies, I took up science and I scored very well. So, my father said, why not try it? And Pune University had quota. So, depending on your score, you would get a college. I got a college in Nasik that fell under the Pune University. And so, it was honestly more of a penguin effect within the family that one should do this, and that's how I took. I was lucky enough to get IT engineering in Pune University, and I managed to do it in 4 years. So that was a blessing. So yes.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about your first job right out of college.
Okay, so another funny thing. So during my engineering, I realized that my forte was not sitting behind a desk in coding. And I think end of third year, I realized that I love public speaking. I love meeting people. I love going out, performing on the stage. So I realized that maybe if I continue in IT, that may not give me the luxury of doing that. And the next thing, that bubble that came, was MBA.
Okay.
So I thought, instead of doing an MBA immediately, let me take up a job. So I came back to Pune, and there was this store in Pune back then, Houseful. It no longer exists, but it was a furniture store. It was a chain in Pune and all of Maharashtra. So in that one particular store, they needed a customer service executive who would talk to customers post the sales was done. And they had never had somebody in that position. So it was a clean slate for me. And this was completely different from what an IT engineer would be doing. But I loved it because, like I said, my innate love is to interact with people, right? And this was the job that gave me that. And I would happily call up customers, ask them how the service was, how the product was, and I made the job my own. And I did that for almost a year. And because I was preparing for CAT in between, got admission in an MBA college. I left it after, I think, 9 to 10 months. But I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed my job because it was anything but sitting behind a desk. I was always on the shop floor, meeting customers. In fact, like I said, I made the job my own, so much so that other than what was allotted to me, I would still help in sales because I was loving talking to people. And I think that exposed me to the fact that I could do this for times to come. So
Yeah.
that was the initial seed that I saw, which I loved with my interaction and meeting people.
I see. So let's come to your current role. You said that you love interacting with people and now you're the head of marketing. But before joining marketing, a little bird told us that you were in various other departments like renewal, sales, operations. So what did you learn from these other departments that helped you in becoming a good marketer?
Okay, so even before I joined the Bajaj group, I was in this company called Matrix Cellular. I used to sell international SIM cards. So I did that for a good 10 months. So sales initially taught me how to be grounded. I think that's the first lesson that I'm grateful that I learned it like that. Because in sales, you have targets, you're meeting people. And especially in my job, because we were selling SIM cards, we had to do cold calling to people. So they gave us a list of people and we would call them and ask, if you're traveling abroad, please let me know. As lame a call as that. But I met such brilliant people through that. So I think the first lesson through that was how to stay grounded, how to stay humble. Because when you have targets, there is stress. How to handle stress, that was another lesson that I learned, that if you have a big target, instead of cribbing about it, because that's given to you, how do you find a way to achieve or overachieve that? Then when I came to Bajaj Allianz Life, I've also had the good fortune of working with great leaders in both Bajaj Allianz Life and Bajaj Allianz General. We used to work, I was in the renewals department, and we used to work morning 8 to evening 8 at least, and 365 days, because the channel was being set up and we needed people who can give it their all. And I was relatively young back then, so I had a lot of time, energy on hand. So I think the other thing that I learned was that if you're building something new, you have to give it your all. Because if you treat it as a process or an activity, it'll never flourish. You have to own it like it's your own, especially if you're building something from scratch up. So I think that's another lesson that I realized. And but that I took even beyond that. Even when I did something that was already there, I took every job given to me like it belongs to me. Because only then you go all out and give it your 100% every time, and not just one-off times, right? Then I shifted to GI and I was heading the renewal call center, the online renewal call center. The next lesson was, and this was the first time I had a big team reporting to me, close to 20 callers who knew more than I knew, because I immediately took over. The first lesson, like I said, humility.
Yes.
To be humble enough to ask questions without feeling that, oh, what will they think? They're reporting into me, but they know more than me. That is absolutely okay. That even happens today in your team. You have to be humble enough to accept that your team members can know more than you. And if you take that to your heart feeling bad, you will never succeed. Instead, learn from them, and in the bargain, teach them something that you can teach. That's how great teams are formed. So, and that's a lesson I learned from when I became the executive assistant with Mr. Tapan Singhel. That's the first lesson that I learned, that it's very important to be humble enough to ask questions. No matter how junior the other person is or how senior the other person is, asking will help you learn more. So that next time you're much better and your communication can be a lot more effective. So these are the lessons that I learned in the bargain. And I think the biggest lesson Bajaj has taught me is that this is one big family. And so when I had a bigger team, I had a bigger responsibility, I treated them like that. So it could be family occasions or family issues or anything of that nature. I don't look at it with the hat that I'm a corporate employee, and I should look at it with a very transactional manner that we don't do at Bajaj at all. And that's the best lesson that I learned. And that's how I lead a team. And I think that's really paid off, because the team is no longer a team, it's more like a family. We celebrate people's weddings, birthdays, promotions. At times, we also discuss when there's a bad rating, because that also happens. But we discuss that like a family, and not over an email saying that, oh, this is your rating, and we're not having a conversation. We're absolutely open to conversations. So I think that's one
Absolutely.
lesson I took forward, and it's helping me.
Yeah, we can see the celebrations
Yeah,
every
we
other
try and do as
week.
many as we can.
Yeah, I know. So you mentioned that you were an executive assistant to the CEO, and you also mentioned one of the learnings that you picked up from him. So if you can tell us more such learnings that has helped you.
Or for that, it'll take maybe one full year, and I can go on and on, because I say this in a lot of open forums, and I say this with a lot of pride, that who I was when I joined his office in 2014, I was a deputy manager. I was a young boy who had seen a bit of the corporate realm, but not with the lens with which our MD and CEO, Dr. Tapan Singhel, sees. So for me, it was information overload every microsecond. And even to date, if I'm not his EA, if I get to talk to him, it still happens. So I think the first lesson which I learned in sales, but I'll again repeat it, is to be humble. I've seen our MD and CEO talk to an office boy, uh, the chairman of the company, channel partners, which is agents, brokers, our customers, and our employees, with the same respect and humility, which is rare, because you could change with the kind of people that you're talking to. So the person who brings him tea gets greeted by him with the same amount of love versus let's say a CXO walk into the cabin. Same. I don't see that fluctuate, which means he sees the person as a human and not a tag, which I think is a great lesson that I've taken back, and I try and follow that. I make sure when I enter, I talk to from the watchman to the office boy to who I'm dealing with, irrespective of how my day is, because I can't push that on them, because they're doing their job, right? So I think that's one incredible lesson that he's taught me. Second, when I moved out, he gave me a quote. I'll not go word by word, but it basically meant that when you start succeeding in life, you don't know when arrogance oblique ego hits your head. Keep a watch on that. And that's one thing that I do till date. Every time I feel that, oh, I've done a great job, before it hits my head, I look at the next job that needs to be done. Because if I let that absorb in, I'll start feeling that, oh, I've arrived and I'm doing really well, which is not the case. I start seeing people who are doing better, who are doing other things, and I try and gain inspiration from that without letting that success hit my head, and I feel that, oh, I've now achieved everything, right? Which is not the case. We've just started our journey. So that's one lesson he gave me early on, which I think is very powerful. A lot of leaders forget that ego, arrogance, and it'll not tell you and come. It'll just come and settle in, and then you'll start feeling very big about yourself. So every time I look at him, he is not just the MD and CEO, he's the chairman of the council. He's the chairman at CII for the Insurance and Pensions Committee. He's with IGC, CIRM, Bima Sugam, name it. He's pretty much the insurance man of India. But he's still so humble. Doesn't let all that hit his head. So we try and learn a little bit from that. The next big lesson is to be in the moment. I think that's one thing he does beautifully. If he's meeting somebody, and if that person is there in person particularly, he respects people's time. So I think that's another lesson to be taken here, is when you're with somebody, give them that respect, because they're also giving you that time. Time is the most precious thing you can give to someone, right? Because that belongs to you, and you could have maybe done something better, something else, but you're spending that time with that person in a meeting. He will give you his undivided attention. I've not seen him get distracted even once. And I'll give you a live example. We were at the reception once, and I was his EA back then. And I think we were doing a celebration. And an office boy came and offered him tea or water or something like that. And boss being boss, he asks everyone to speak. He said, why don't you speak a few words about what you think is happening here? and the boy spoke really well.
Wow.
And he said, and this shows his presence of mind, being in the moment. He could have just said thank you and go. He heard him speak, the confidence, the English. He said, why are you doing this job? From the next day, he was a part of the CX team.
Wow.
Can you beat that? So that is what is being in the moment, because then I'm listening to you. And if I can do something for you in that moment, if I have the authority, I will do that. Or I'll just give you a solid listening and maybe later on help you in whichever way I can.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't in the moment, he could have just heard him, because there were so many people talking, and he could have just let it be, right? But he took that moment on that spot, called the CHRO, gave them the instruction, and it happened. Now that is what being in the moment is, because when you're talking to somebody, there's so much that can come out of it. But if you're distracted on the phone, a lot of people today sadly will be also doing mails or messages. He's never done that, and I think that's the biggest lesson that I take back. The last is, even though you're extremely busy, make time for family. He travels, I think, 25 days a month. He still makes sure that he's there for the family. He's never missed even one episode for their kids, like whatever happens in schools, annual day, sports day. That's one thing. Now I have a 4-year-old son, so I make sure that whatever I can do to spend time in whichever capacity, I try and do that. So that's another lesson, that you could be working really hard, but if you use that as an excuse to not spend time at home, that is unfair. Give them equal time and attention. So he says this: there is nothing like a work-life balance. It is work-life integration, and I firmly believe that. That balance, all these words are, I think, overabused. It has to be an integration where the family also equally is a part of what you do, and they take a lot of pride in what you do, and hence it helps you go to the next level.
Yes, that's
So these
so
are,
true.
like I said, I can go on. You will have to tell me when to stop, but there are too many lessons that he can teach you in one meeting. If you're spending that time with him with all your might, you can take back 100 lessons.
Yeah, and I have seen, like you said, that you learned humility from him, and I've seen you and me having this conversation in your cabin a few days back, and you greeted me by saying "ma'am," and you are at the top of almost at the top of the corporate ladder, and I'm almost somewhere in the bottom, but you still treated me.
But that's one thing I learned from him.
Yeah, that's what I'm
the
saying.
fact is, you're doing your job, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all employees have one mission of insurance, right? But by virtue of what you do, to me, disrespect you or not give you that time is unfair. And because I am at a particular position does not mean that I'm bigger or larger than you, right? Very, very clear in my thought that I've been given that because of what I do, but I'm still at this same level as everyone in the company. I don't believe in that, the whole hierarchy bit, because then, like I said, the whole ego bit comes in.
Yeah.
And it has no space in my life, at least. So I'm very clear with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt so flattering. I was taken back a bit.
I'm
Anyway,
glad. Thank you.
So moving on to our next question. So since you have this exposure of working in different teams, do you think that you have an edge over other marketing leaders who have been in the field of marketing for an extended period of time?
I wouldn't say an edge. That'll be wrong of me to say that, because everyone's doing the best in their capacity that they can. But I personally feel that because I've had a exposure of sales, operations, IT, I've worked with the MD, so I have a limited knowledge of the bird's eye view of how the industry functions. And now, by virtue of him being the chairman of the council, I work with him on a lot of projects. It does give me a slight difference of thought that a person who've just done marketing, from him I might differ, because I know what it takes to be on the field, what targets are, how my channel partner is thinking, when I'm talking to a customer, what they're truly thinking, if they're really believing in what we are saying. So that, I think, has helped me in a big way, because if you look at all our communications, we never harp that, oh, Bajaj is the best and you should buy from us. We are a big insurance company. But our innate thought and messaging is how to educate you to be insured, because we've learned this, that is the biggest gap in insurance, that a lot of people still don't understand the nuances or exclusions, inclusions, the terminologies. Hence, all our creatives that you see are very educational. So our mission is very clear, that we have to educate as many Indians as possible, and then they can go to whichever insurance company that they deemed fit. But that's the overall mission. And how my yester experiences have helped me is, it's given me a better vision of what could really help in the communication bit, on what could work, because I've sold myself, so I know what really works and what is completely shoved down. So I would never use that, what has worked. Another reason I spend a lot of time with our sales teams to understand what's happening in the market, to give me the latest intel, right? Because I may not have that latest intel, just to understand. And again, coming back to a lesson from boss, every day learn something new. So I try and learn what's happening in the market, because if I feel that I know it all, I will never succeed. You have to keep learning, keep understanding, keep unlearning what I knew, because maybe what I knew 10 years back is irrelevant today or has little relevance today. So it's important to keep your eyes and ears open, educate yourself as much as you can, and I think it'll only help.
Yeah, to keep yourself updated everywhere you go.
Works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, coming to your personal life now, what is your definition of fun on the weekends?
So I've been a person who loves dogs all my life. So all my cantonment postings, you would have 4 5 stray dogs outside every city. So I think that love for dogs has been from the very start. So when I shifted to Pune, I wanted to work for a dog shelter, because when I started earning, I realized that it's also time that I have to start giving back. Right? That's the biggest lesson I think I'm proud of, that I have, is if you earn, you should also give back. It could be in whichever capacity, time, money, or whatever works for you. It could be an NGO, it could be an old age home. For me, it was dogs. I realized there was this NGO, a dog shelter in the middle of the cantonment in Pune, and close to 400 odd dogs, and all we would get them all injured from various places, and we would treat them there. So I started going there. And then when I had Veer, my son, I realized I couldn't take out that much time on weekends, because either I would be with him or at the shelter. So I realized, let me try and take him once and see if it fits in. And I was truly lucky. I took him and he was hand in glove. It was like it was meant to be. He was playing with the dogs. And so, I mean, that's one thing now we do religiously every weekend if I'm in Pune. We spend 2 hours at the dog shelter, both Saturday and Sunday. And we interact with the dogs, we play with them, feed them. So every weekend we make sure that we're feeding the dogs, understand any problems if there are any of the shelter, and try and help them in whichever way we can. But that's the true bonding that I do now on weekends, is with my son at the dog shelter. And there are a lot of old trees, banyan trees. So we'll jump around, play around. So it's also a good playground.
Yeah.
It's a big 3-acre plot, solid green, which you don't get in the city these days. So I think we have a good time there.
That's so amazing to hear. I mean, it's a very rare hobby, I would say. I have never heard anybody volunteering at the dog shelter, at least. And do you think that if your son asks you to adopt a dog down the line, you will?
100%. But he has to ask me, because he has to be responsible enough.
Yeah.
Because if I'm working, he has to be responsible enough to take care of the dog. And if he is, more than happy.
Absolutely. So, coming to your hobbies, is there any hobby that you had in your childhood that you want to pick up again?
I used to sketch a little bit, but back then my hand-eye coordination was relatively good. I think last 4 5 years I've not done that, so that coordination is gone, which I would love to bring back. But I think every time I sketched, it was so therapeutic. I think any hobby which is related to art or creativity is extremely therapeutic.
Yes.
So whenever I would do that, I remember I would be doing that for hours on weekends, and forget about lunch or evening tea or whatever the works, and just be at it until it's finished. Because when you start a sketch, you would rather finish it and then leave it, because otherwise you're in the realm karna hai nahi karna, and then once you stop, the flow also goes away, right?
Yeah,
So when you're in the moment, you'd rather finish it. So I used to love it, honestly. But now my weekends are, like I said, they're spent at the shelter with Veer. Maybe in times to come, if my hand-eye coordination comes back,
It will.
I don't mind trying it again.
Absolutely. As a person,
I think it'll come back during his projects. I think that's where it might come back.
Yeah. You will have to help with all the arts and crafts at that time.
Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe. Yeah.
As a person who has a lot of hobbies, I can vouch that you have no track of time when you are invested in a particular
it's
hobby.
the best. It's therapeutic completely.
Completely agree. So, coming to our final question, what do you think makes the Bajaj culture unique?
One big word, like I told you in the start, the feeling of one big family. And so initially when I joined, a lot of people said it. I felt they're saying it because it's a company and you should say it. Until you really experience it and feel it. Because I was Tapan Sir's EA, I've seen many episodes where people needed some exceptions, etc., at a personal level, and they were granted in microseconds, not even seconds. So I think that one unique culture Secondly, people are given opportunities in this company. So as long as you have a good track record to prove that whatever is given to you, you will deliver, uh, the company doesn't mind experimenting, because the company is not looking at it as an experiment. They know that you have the ability to deliver, and that's why you're given responsibilities. A lot of companies will not offer very intricate roles to people who don't have that experience, even though they're talented. Right? So that's one thing I've seen in the company, and that's why, being an insurance company, you'll see a lot of people who are heads who are relatively young, versus other insurance companies where people are relatively, I'm maybe 45 plus. In Bajaj, you will see a lot of young people given opportunities, and thankfully they've all lived up to the expectation. They've performed well. So that second culture, I think, for me is brilliant. Third, the culture of celebration. I think even when I was not in Tapan sir's office, prior to that, if there were 100 crores achieved or 50 crores achieved, there would be cake cuttings. It was brilliant. All of us would come together. If it was a month end, sitting in late, we would order in food, sit together as a family. So it never felt like work. And that's something that Bajaj brings on the table. When you, at least I can vouch for myself, when I enter in, I don't feel like I'm coming to an office. For me, it's coming home, because I know everyone knows you. We're very warm. If there's a celebration, we'll be a part of it. If there's something wrong, we'll stand with each other to make sure that we support each other. And that I've seen across departments, not just for your own department. We've done this and experienced this across departments. So I think these three things make Bajaj extremely, extremely unique. Lastly, I think, and I can say that with a lot of pride, the person who's leading the company, Dr. Tapan Singhel, I think all these three traits are by virtue of how he exudes his leadership. He gives the company that comfort, that luxury of being there for each other, because I've seen him stand thick and thin with people when it's been good times or bad times both. So I think it percolates top down, and I'm glad the other leaders have caught on to that culture and they've spread that, because otherwise it would never spread. So I think that one man leading the show, and these, I mean, there are many traits, but these three traits come to my mind when you ask me. That keeps us absolutely unique and happy.
Absolutely. It was so fun chatting with you. Thank you for
Likewise.
being our
Thank you.
guest.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Stay tuned for another episode of Cabin Chronicles, where careers and curiosity collide. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.